Some of us dream of a place where we can disappear from the wrath of the cities, a place where you have endless roads leading to a landscape that is untamable. Some of us might think such a place exists only in imagination. It's true to an extent, but then there is SPITI. The journey to SPITI Valley starts from Chandigarh. See, there are two routes. One, you go via Manali, so you first get to the Lohal side of the SPITI Valley and then go to Kaza. And the other one is you go to Shimla and then visit the Kinnaur Valley, go via Nako, Tabo and then reach Kaza. So in this video we are going to focus about the whole circuit. If you are making a bike trip, there is no point making only one part of it, because even if you do the shortest SPITI Valley, it's going to take like 7 days. So another 3 days, in 10 days you can comfortably finish the entire loop. So that's what we are going to see in this video. So first things first. So let's first decide whether you can transport your bike or to get a hired bike. So as I told you, it starts from Chandigarh and ends in Chandigarh, and it's like 10 days. If you're hiring a classic Royal Enfield, it's going to cost you like 1,600 to 1,800. And if you're going to take a Himalayan, it's going to cost you somewhere between 2,200 to 2,400. So in that case, for 10 days, if it is a classic, you're talking about 16,000 for the bike rental alone without fuel. And if you're talking about a Himalayan, you're talking somewhere between 22 to 24. From pretty much anywhere in India, transporting your motorcycle to Chandigarh via the Indian Railway is going to cost you somewhere between 10 to 12,000 rupees. And if you're going to transport it on road, it's going to cost you a maximum of 15,000 rupees. To complete the circuit, it's roughly around 1,200 to 1,400 kilometers. Either way you start, it's going to be the same. So this trip is comprised of two zones. See, one is the Lohal part, which is on the western side, and the SPITI part, which is on the eastern side. So the eastern side of the circuit is open throughout the year, so no problem with that. You can access it even in winter. The problem is with the Lohal side of the circuit. See, beyond Manali, right now you don't have the problem with Rohtang Pass because you have the Atal Tunnel. But beyond that Atal Tunnel to Grampu, Chatru, Chotadara, Batal and Chandra Tal. So this leg of SPITI is open only for 4 months. So generally Kunzum Pass opens somewhere around mid-June. So the entire circuit is practically open only between mid-June through mid-September. If you're riding solo, it's far better if you are on a bike that has tubeless tires, because one of the biggest problems riding the Trans-Himalayas is when you get into a puncture. And with tubeless tires, it's pretty simple to fix your own punctures. But whereas with tires that have, non-tubeless tires, I mean spoke wheels, it's extremely difficult if you get a puncture. And when we talk about the Trans-Himalayas, we cannot rule out bad roads and water crossing. Puncture shops are far and wide in between, and sometimes you even have the risk of jeopardizing the entire trip because of one single puncture. On the other hand, if you are going in as a group and budget is not a problem, it's always better to have a backup vehicle. So the best backup vehicle that you can have is a Bolero camper, because you can load 2 bikes into it and then 4 people can sit in it. There are a lot of people who come in as a couple, and generally the pillion rider is not as comfortable as the riders. One advantage is the pillion can switch between the camper and the pillion seat, and the second advantage is since you can load 2 bikes into it, if at all one bike gets a problem, you can just load it into the camper and then proceed on. See, these are all worst case scenarios, but then in the mountains, if at all something gets wrong, it is very difficult to crawl out of it. It's not like you have a puncture shop in the next 5-10 kilometers. At some places in the Spiti Valley, the distance between one puncture shop and the next is about 100 kilometers. Even if you're going to ride all the way, get the mechanic and come back, it's going to take like 2-3 hours. If you're on a tight itinerary, then it sort of messes up the entire thing. So the next important aspect you need to focus is petrol. See, if you are going through the Shimla side, right now there is this one place called Poo. Poo has an Indian oil petrol pump right now. Fill your petrol in Poo, because if you miss that petrol pump, the next petrol pump in Kaza is about 150 kilometers away. Similarly, on the Lahore side, you have a petrol pump in Kaza, and you miss that, the next petrol pump is in Manali, which is 200 kilometers away. Let's get to the actual journey now. So on the first day of your journey, you will be traveling from Chandigarh to Narkanda. So the distance is about 173 kilometers. So in the mountains, it's likely to take you somewhere between 5 to 6 hours between Chandigarh and Narkanda. See, one of the major problems in this route is the traffic in Shimla. So generally, getting in and out of Shimla becomes a very dicey affair. With heavy traffic, it can delay your journey by about 1.5 to 2 hours during peak season. So if you want to avoid it, so there is another alternate route. On the Chandigarh-Shimla route, you would come across this place called Khandaghat. So on Khandaghat, the highway goes straight, and if you take a right, you will get to this one place called Chail. Chail is just the Shimla that was there 20 years back. Still not really crowded, and it hasn't yet become a concrete mountain town. But then the problem with the Chail route is the roads are very narrow. See, at some places, if two cars have to overtake each other, one has to pull over and the other should do. But the advantage is the Child route is far more scenic as compared to the Shimla route, and the best part is you can avoid the Shimla traffic. The Child route comes and joins the Indo-Tibet highway after Kufri. So once you cross Kufri, it's just around 50 kilometers to Narkanda, and the moment you cross Kufri, you will be dealing with a tenth of the traffic that you face down the Shimla highway. Between Kufri and Narkanda, you will come across the typical deodar forest, and once you reach Narkanda, there are multiple options. See, two of the best options one is obviously the HPTDC. There is an online booking site. I'll leave it in the description. You can check it out. A place in Narkanda that I stay regularly is the Pahadi house. It's a small homestay. It's on the highway, and the best part is it's all made up of wood with a real decent view on the other side. The thing is, it's got only 5 rooms. During peak season, you will have to book it in advance. So I'll leave his number as well in the description. If you're going in June, July, please make sure you make a call before you go there, because since there are only 5 rooms, most of the time in season time it gets filled up. The next 2 days you will be exploring the Kinnaur Valley. I've got a detailed video about the Kinnaur Valley. Please watch it. I'll leave it in the description and here. On the second day you will be going through the Baspa side of the Kinnaur Valley, and on the third day you will be exploring the Kalpa side of the Kinnaur Valley. Both beautiful alpine valleys. So that makes your second day and the third day. See, generally a lot of people sprint from Narkanda to Nako in a day. See, technically you can. It's only 250 kilometers, but then see, you're not on a sprint race to Spiti Valley, so there is no point rushing because you'll be driving all day and you will go crash out in your room. So on day 4 you will be traveling from Kalpa to Nako. So the distance is only 110 kilometers, and again a lot of people sprint from Kalpa to Kaza straight away. It's only 210 odd kilometers. Strategically, it's one of the most important days of your trip, because once you get down from Kalpa, you will come across this place called Powari. So you have a petrol pump there. Top up your petrol there, and about 75 kilometers from Kalpa you will come to this one place called Poo. Poo is the last petrol pump until you get to Kaza, so top up or fill your petrol in Poo, and then you will come across an iron bridge, the doubling bridge, and then you will get to this place called Khab. That's the spot where the Sutlej river enters from China into India. So there is this one confluence there, you can check it out, and then after that you will be climbing up a loop loop section. It's similar to the Gata loops on the Leh Manali highway. This loop is called the car loops. And once you climb the car loops and get on the other side, you'll get to the barren desert landscape. See, until you reach Nako, it is still Kinnaur. Many people think Nako is a part of the Spiti Valley, but Nako is still Kinnaur. And once you get to Nako, it's better you stay in Nako. I have a friend there. He runs a homestay called the Negi Homestay. I know him for many years. Very good rooms, but excellent organic food, because he has a farm right next to his homestay, and he collects whatever is available from the farm and cooks the next day. One place where everyone goes in Nako is the Nako Lake. It's only on the 5th day you will actually enter the Spiti Valley. The reason I suggested you to stay in Nako is, the route between Nako and Tabo is like really scenic, and if you're rushing to Tabo and it's late, you'd be missing on those landscapes. Tabo. So the Tabo Monastery needs no introduction at all. There are hundreds of monasteries in Spiti and Ladakh put together, but then the Tabo Monastery is very unique. And after visiting the Tabo Monastery, most people, they head straight to Dhankar. You have a monastery there as well. Dhankar village itself is a very scenic village. So you have this vertical cliff, and the village is got mud houses dotted here and there, and it has a monastery as well. Dhankar has a lake too, but then it's a 5-kilometer trek. After Dhankar, most people head straight to Kaza. If you are going from the Nako side, just after Dhankar, there is this one place called Lingthi, and you take a left from Lingthi, you enter the Pin Valley. The Pin Valley's got landscapes you would not find otherwise in the Spiti Valley, because the Pin Valley is right in between the Parvati Valley down south and the Spiti Valley in the north, and the mountains are pretty similar to what you would find in Zanskar. So I generally stay in Mud, and the distance between Nako and Mud is around 128 kilometers. The distance is pretty less, but then you will have a lot to see between Nako and Mud. If you stayed in Mud, the distance between Mud to Kaza is about 50 kilometers, and on this day you can fill your petrol and check into your hotel in Kaza and do the circuit. See, once you're in Kaza, you can do 2 circuits. See, one is to Hikkim, Komik, and then Langza. So Hikkim is getting really famous for the highest post office and the highest inhabited village. It might have the highest post office, but Hikkim is not the highest inhabited village. And the other loop is where you do the Key Monastery, Kibber and Chicham. And the Chicham bridge has become pretty famous these days. And then you go back to Kaza. Depending upon how much time you have at hand, it's like 1 or 2 days to finish both these circuits. So the next day from Kaza, you will be entering the Lohol side of the trip, where you will end up in Chandra Tal. So the distance is about 100 kilometers, and so far largely the roads would be like real good, except for a few patches here and there. But once you cross Kunzum Pass, then the bad roads start. But then the moment you see Chandra Tal, everything disappears, and what remains as a memory would only be Chandra Tal. And there are multiple switch tents at the base of Chandra Tal. You can stay in one of them. Some are pretty expensive, but then don't miss out on staying in Chandra Tal, because Chandra Tal is one lake where you would want to spend maximum time, and the night sky in Chandra Tal, especially if it is around a full moon, is like phenomenal. And then the road from Chandra Tal through Batal, Chatru, Chotadara and Grampu. That would be the most challenging road in the entire trip, and especially there is one part called Pagalnala. Man, that river is real mad, because what happens is the road is right under the glacier. So start as early as possible from Chandra Tal, preferably by 6. At any cost, start before 7, because what happens is when you're traveling between June, July and August, the flooding is maximum during midday. So the idea is to cross it before the flooding happens. And once you cross Grampu and Koksar, then it's a cakewalk, where you would enter the Rohtang tunnel and then back to Manali. And getting back from Manali to Chandigarh, I don't think anyone would need a guide. But then there is one thing. See, last year in 2023, all of you know that Himachal was hit by massive floods. Major part of the road is still under construction if you are going in 2024 or 25. Whatever time Google Maps shows, try to add 1 or 2 hours to the time and plan accordingly. And that marks the end of your Spiti trip. And if you have any other queries or if you think I've missed out on something, please put it in the comment section. I would be happy to reply to. And as always, I think I've earned your subscription with that. So see you next week with another video. Until then, travel more, travel safe. See you, buddy.